Watch out, Tesla. I'll run over you. So it's interesting, you put people in different situations and you get different answers to the same questions. That's why when we're interviewing someone, we try and take them out for dinner, we try and take them out for paintball, we take them out for a run, a walk on the beach, and they behave very differently because people are primed to behave in a certain way in the office for business questions, right? You sit somebody down in a conference room and you ask them, what was your greatest achievement? They channel that environment and they basically can intuit what the perfect answer is because of the environment. They know what's environmentally correct. Now you take someone out and you're on a run, right? You got their heart rate up to 135, 145, 150. You ask them the same question. What was your greatest achievement? Whatever interview question you have, right? And there's a lot more stress on them. They don't know, they can't pattern match what the right answer is, and you can start to peel back the layers of authenticity and see what's really at the core of this person. And that's how we ended up doing these driving interviews, podcasts, is get totally different answers. And when I'm at the desk, I'm primed, I have to give the right answer, politically correct, perfect for everybody who listens, from venture capitalists, private equity, banks, to entrepreneurs, to salespeople, to sales managers, to CEO of corporations. I give the politically correct, the right answer for everybody. Here I'm driving, I'm managing some other things, sort of you're peeling back the layers of the onion, you get the answer that I really have. Might not be perfectly politically correct or for everybody, but it is the answer that's from me. And so, why would you care what answer I give to any question? Because I have done this stuff that we're talking about, marketing, sales, raising money at industrial scale. Like one of my clients, I didn't even have time to do paperwork with him, just raised $30 million because it happened so fast after we fixed his pitch, fixed the way he was presenting. We didn't even have time to finish the agreements. Now I got to go beg him for $1 million or whatever it is. All right, so today we have some questions and shoot, what do we got?
What's your best experience as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so the question is, what's my best experience as an entrepreneur? Like through my filter, the best experiences is where I got the chance to make the most amount of money, right? There's 3 games in life to play. Money, strength, right? Your physical strength and your health, whatever you want to call it. I call it strength. The stronger you are, the physically, the longer you'll last, the more you'll be able to accomplish, and the better you'll do. So the games, the 3 games worth playing are money, strength, and you could call the 3rd game happiness, well-being, self-actualization, motivation. So those are 3 games, right? And so when you ask me, what's my best experience as an entrepreneur? That's the money game, right? And so, I'll tell you a funny story really quickly. So right before my best experience as an entrepreneur happened, we went to Hawaii, and this was amazing. We're gonna get off on the beach here. You get a couple shots of the beach, it's beautiful. So we went to Hawaii, and we're doing this zip line in Maui, and they set you up to go over this zip line over this massive canyon, and it's super scary. The ride lasts like 25 seconds. It feels like it lasts 2 years while you're out there over the canyon hanging for dear life. And so they have this little thing that they do where they half hook the attachment on, so you could see it's like not fully hooked on, but they have another one that's fully hooked on. And so the guide pushes you off with a clip that looks like it's half hooked on, and you have a heart attack, right? But it's just a joke and everything. But I was talking to one of the guys. I'm like, hey, it's not that funny. He's like, yeah. He goes, but I will tell you something very interesting that happened. So there have been something like 18 zipline deaths in the history of ziplining. And I go, oh, that's interesting. He goes, yeah. So guess how many of them have been the passengers, or the whatever you call them, the tourists, the clients? 0. So 0 tourists, clients have died on these zip lines in Hawaii and Australia, in the world. Like the zip lines never fail. So where do all the deaths come from? What happens is you, the tourist, are sitting in the zip line. Well, actually not you, right? Because if you're listening to this, it's probably not you, but your mom or your grandma or your aunt gets hooked up to the zip line, all locked in, safety latches are on, right? And then the guide pushes you to go across out the zip line, And as, not you, but your grandma, as your grandmother looks down and starts to realize she's going out over this canyon, a mile over the earth, attached to this line, something she's never done before, she freaks out and her arms flail out and she grabs the tour guide. Come on, traffic. She grabs the tour guide and grabs him and takes him out on the zip line, and he's not linked into anything, right? So now you have grandma holding this 185-pound, handsome 24-year-old tour guide, holding on to him, and then she looks down and she sees it's a mile down, and then she freaks out for a second time and she lets go. Guy plummets to earth and dies. So 18 of the 18 zipline deaths, or whatever the number is, don't research it, Google it, and call me out on it. It's 18 or it's 19 or it's 12 or it's 21, but it's just be glad none of them are you. So the zipline deaths have become as guides, and that's sort of like being an entrepreneur, right? Being an entrepreneur, typically you go down or you lose the deal or your project fails or your company fails or your idea fails or it doesn't come to life because something happens to you, like somebody else grabs onto you. Normally it's the money, carries you out over the zip line, over the pit, and then gets scared and lets go, and you fall to your entrepreneurial death. And if that hasn't happened to you and you call yourself an entrepreneur, I'd be very surprised. Your name is Mark Zuckerberg. Or Bill Gates or whatever. So anyway, my best experience as an entrepreneur, oh God, we're getting a train here. My best experience as an entrepreneur is I came up with an idea. I got an advisor. He said, this is a good idea. I know lots of investment firms would be interested in this. So we wrote up a short plan. I'm talking like 4 pages. We met with 4 or 5 firms. All of them were interested. Things were happening very fast. I was in my early 20s, and we got a term sheet for $8 million. $8 million, very exciting. So we signed the term sheet, totally agreed to it, and they said, hey, listen, while we're doing the closing, and closing documents on these are like, if you imagine like 20 inches of documents high, those are the closing documents, legal and all that kind of stuff, and you got to sign hundreds of pages. But they say, hey, look, before closing, we want to get this money out and start executing on this great idea before some competition does it before you. They go, what's the corporate account numbers? I didn't have an LLC or an incorporation, hadn't done much legal, nothing was going on. And they go, just give us your bank account. And so they wire $8 million into my personal bank account. And the funniest thing is I was trying to rent a luxury apartment at the time, and I'm not sure how good in my early 20s my financials were. And so, I was trying to make myself look as good as possible, but then the money came in, and they go, hey, flashing light, dude. Everybody gets to go. So the money came in, and I go check. My bank balance is $8,020,000. So I got the apartment because $8 million in my bank account. I lost it, but I had an ATM receipt for my personal account, which was went from $20,000 to $8,020,000 in a day. I can't believe I lost it. That's one of the greatest. So one of the things I love about being an entrepreneur out on the leading edge of ideas, of money, of business, is things can happen fast. Things can happen fast when you have an idea. That idea is in sync with the way technology is working today, with consumer sentiments, the way businesses buy, and the capital thinks that your idea is a perfect fit for what's going to happen over the next 12, 24, 36 months, then things can happen, boom, fast. You can get money, you can attach people, and you can get started. Now that's when it gets hard and mistakes start to happen. But things are easy to start. When you're an entrepreneur, that's what I love about it. $8 million can show up. Things are easy to start. One of the questions I get all the time is more specifically, what's one of the most rewarding aspects of being an entrepreneur? And for me, it is permission to fail. And I know that's a cliche. Hey, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough, and fall down 18 times, get up 19 times, and there's a million Instagram motivational cliches around failing. But the truth is, when you have this frame or this brand or this label as an entrepreneur, you're taking so much risk that it actually is okay to fail. And it doesn't feel okay to fail. Real entrepreneurs don't give themselves permission to fail, but ultimately, when you look back, nobody cares. You tried something, you took some money, it worked out, it didn't work out. Like, you have entrepreneurs who have failed 10 times in a row in Silicon Valley, or maybe not Silicon Valley, they're still credible, right? People will give them a chance an 11th time if your efforts were credible, right? I worked as an analyst for a venture group. And one thing that they pointed out is 19 out of 20 times, the engineers and the CEOs and the entrepreneurs always build what they say they're going to build. They rarely ever mess this part up, is building something. They hardly ever mess up building something. What happens is the market doesn't show up, right? They come up with a value proposition, better accounting software that plugs into the IRS's new API and technology system and reduces the likelihood that you make accounting errors and reduces by 50% your chance of getting an audit. And when you do get an audit, it is more likely to make the audit go away within 2 weeks because it's done. Whatever, right? You have a value proposition as an entrepreneur. You can build it, right? What happens is, and what is unpredictable is the market doesn't show up. I mean, look at VR, right? VR was supposed to be on every kid, every baby's head by now, and I literally never see VR, right? It's an incredible value proposition. If you look at the analysts, they probably got it wrong by 50, 60% in terms of market expansions, mainly in military technology or something, for highly technical. But housewives are not using VR to fix plumbing sinks, okay? Market didn't show up. So being an entrepreneur, having that label, as bad as it feels to fail, as bad as it feels to have something go slowly, as bad as it feels to sit in front of a board of directors or advisors or even the staff that you hired and say, hey, things aren't on plan, it's also okay. And that's the greatest thing about being an entrepreneur. And so take the opposite of it. Go out in the real world. You're the chief operating officer for a couple $100 million company, for a $1 billion division of a multi-billion dollar company. It is not okay to have things fail. Like, there's shareholders. There's 20 people who want your job. There's politics. There's people above you, below you, the side of you, people you don't even know, active investors. Everybody's looking at you, scrutinizing you to make sure the things you said were going to happen really do happen. So what do? Right? You're not entrepreneurial. You don't reach. You don't come up with great plans and solid ideas and amazing things happen. You sandbag, right? Every chief operating officer who commits to the next quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, year of results is sandbagging. He's listing something that he knows he can do without risk, because if he misses, I wouldn't say so much he's on the chopping block, but people are starting to pay attention. People are potentially going after you. So you have permission as an entrepreneur to do some things that are outside the box, to have fun, to explore both the things that are important to you and some things in business haven't been done before. As a chief operating officer of a large division, you have to nail things every single time and get it right. So to me, that's the greatest part of being able to be an entrepreneur, is not being held accountable for every idea, every decision, every plan, every marketing campaign, every technology decision, and you can play outside the box. Now look, if you can't handle risk, if you like people to believe in you 100%, if you want your word to mean the golden bond of truth, okay, if all that stuff is important to you, you can't be an entrepreneur because you can't handle failure. So what are the mistakes that entrepreneurs make? I mean, you can ask all kinds of venture capitalists and private equity guys and you get the cliche answers, but I'll tell you for real, there is one mistake that entrepreneurs make, is not understanding the rules of money, the money game, how to ask for capital. If you look at any of the big wins in technology, in business, maybe not any, almost all the stories, these companies need money to grow and make mistakes and get customers, right? Ideas, there's a million ideas. If you don't understand how to ask for money, and that's the business I'm in, right? So that's why I love this subject, right? Surgeons want to operate, physical therapy, when you get injured, you injure your knee, right? Surgeon wants to operate, physical therapy guy wants to twist your knee, back and forth and stretch you out. The chiropractor tells you it's your neck and your spine. The doctor, the psychologist says it's all in your mind. The psychotherapist wants to give you drugs. The pharmacist, wants you to take aspirin. Like, everybody wants you to do the thing that's in their profession. So when you ask me about what's key to being an entrepreneur, what the mistakes are, it's about money, because that's my business, is helping people go get money. Ideas don't really matter. Any idea can be made to work, right? The Bible hand printed on the back of toilet paper, and sold for $20,000 a piece. It doesn't matter. Ways, technology that helps you use VR to repair computers long distance or do surgery. Oh, let's try not to run over this bicyclist. VR that helps you do surgery in Africa from downtown Boston, right? It doesn't matter what the idea is. It will eventually, if it's a capital efficient idea and there's some kind of market and there's some kind of decent value proposition, if you have money, you can build it and grow the market. Where I see the mistakes happen is entrepreneurs over-investing in the excitement of their idea. They go to meetings with a partner for recruiting, with capital, with customers, and they talk mainly about the idea and not enough about the deal and the structure of the deal. Ideas are important. Your passion as a founder is important. Who your technical co-founder is important. How you are better and different than the competition. Why Microsoft can't do this and Facebook can't do this and Google can't do this and crush you in 10 seconds. That's important. But the most important thing is, what is the deal for the buyer or the investor? So I would take basically any presentation that comes to me. Say, hey, Oren, what do you think of this presentation? 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes long. I would do a couple things. Make it shorter, and B, I would reverse the amount of time spent on what the product is, why it's a good idea and the value proposition, and what the deal is, right? What the deal structure is. So for what I mean by that is, let's say it's an investment. How much money are you asking for? What is the valuation? How are you using the money? Why are you getting this amount of money? Why are these people involved with the company? Not now, but when it really starts to move fast, why are these people can take it to the next level? What is the next level of the company we're trying to get to? And is this enough money to get to that next stage in the company? That's what everybody wants to know. Investors want to know that. Partners want to know that. If you're recruiting a team, they want to know that. They suspend disbelief that your widget widgetizes, that your software softwares, that your SaaS SaaSes, and that your, I don't know what else there is, your logistics formula logisticizes. They believe in that because there's not enough time in the meeting to prove or disprove that your technology works, right? If it's got a good value proposition, if it's capital efficient, they want to know what's the money for, how are you going to use the money, and how far does the money get you, and how much more money will this project potentially need, and who is going to raise that money, and more importantly, are the milestones that you're trying to reach and the assumptions you're making about the cost to get customers realistic? That's what people want to know. They'll believe in your value proposition in 2 seconds. It takes 20, 30 minutes to explain that other stuff. So the mistakes people make are not focusing on the right things. Hey, you've been riding along with me on my morning beach cruise, the entrepreneurial cruise, hearing my thoughts based on the experience of helping companies sell stuff and get the money they need. So join me on Instagram. I'm Oren Claff on Instagram. If you haven't read Pitch Anything, all this stuff is covered in Pitch Anything, a way that's fast, fun, friendly, and some other F words. Okay. We will talk to you tomorrow on the Oren Claff Project.